What's going on, Oh, wow, what a way to kick it off with a little bit of feedback for you all. I don't know what that's coming from. Sheesh. What is that? I feel like that's usually from mics being pointed at each other. Alright, I'm sorry guys if that's breaking your ears. Just bear with me. Anyway, what's going on, everybody? You are listening to Tech Talk. This is Jade. You are listening also to, of course, WMUC.umd.edu College Park. Happy to be here tonight. I hope everybody has had a great week. I know for me, I'm so hyped that it feels like we're finally in spring. It's been so nice out, so warm. I'm ready to hit the town with my friends once we're allowed to. And as always here on Tech Talk, we are going to kick things off with a little PSA. And I'm going to keep up with the one I've been going for every week. Guys, if you go to the University of Maryland, boy, do I have exciting news for us all. You can officially apply for, or not apply even, you can get your vaccine now at the University of Maryland. They haven't promoted it because I don't think they have like a massive supply, but they do have vaccine appointments available. So we can get our vaccine and get back out there. If you're eligible to get a vaccine, which essentially is pretty much everybody unless you're, I think, like a young child, get out there, sign up for one, go get it, because I'm so beyond hype to see everybody again soon. So many great plans for the future, so many like fun things I want to get back to doing. I feel like everybody kind of feels the same. Yeah, I just have like so much energy these days. Maybe it's because we're hitting that like spring weather, the warmth of the air just like really, I don't know, inspires me. I just want to like be out there and be like doing stuff. So yeah, again, if you're at the University of Maryland, you can now sign up to get a vaccine. I highly recommend everybody do that. If you don't go to the University of Maryland, it might be for the best, but nevertheless, make sure you're looking up where you can get your vaccine as well. And if you can't get a vaccine, if you're not in a state or an area that has them available, just make sure you're like getting tested regularly. Like take this opportunity to look up your local testing centers. And yeah, because I totally feel the urge to socialize. I feel everybody's eager to do it. Everybody loves to do it. And yeah, we just got to keep it safe for a little while longer. Final push. Anyway. So what's going on, everybody? So this week, in addition to just like really soaking up the sun and just like enjoying the warm weather, I've also been thinking about something else that gets people really heated. And that's gaslighting. Not just gaslighting, of course. I've been talking about ghosting and gaslighting, or just like putting a lot of thought into these sorts of weird, what do you even call them? Just like consequences, I guess, of like people feeling uncomfortable, maybe a little like uncertain, or maybe like a little insecure maybe in dating, and I don't know, maybe this is like just coupled with the fact that like it's nice and it just puts me in like a happier, more like lovey mood, but I've noticed that like it just seems like these sorts of gaslighting, ghosting, just like weird behaviors in dating have especially just become very common these days. And it's not something that purely exists like in the dating realm. Ghosting is something, well, I mean, ghosting is sort of primarily dating. Like you can't really be an employee and just like ghost your boss. I guess you can, I guess you could, and you might get in trouble, you might like, I don't know, get a bad review, whatever that might mean. So gaslighting is something that's a little bit more exclusive or just like exists in dating. Gaslighting, though, is like everywhere. These days, people really be feeling bold and like confident enough to be gaslighting even before Congress. And that's what like really inspired this line of thinking, I think. So about 2 weeks ago, some of our favorite big tech titans took to the congressional floor to defend their actions or lack of action against the issue of disinformation we're all too familiar with on these big social medias. And so that was we got our Mark Zuckerbergs, we got our Jack Dorsey, and our Sundar Pichai. And the three of them sat in front of Congress, in front of like 2 committees on science and energy, and pretty much were just like, yeah, sorry about it, but that's on you. Because people just like be out here lying and putting stuff out there as truths and like getting people to get riled up and feel certain types of ways and like think certain types of things that aren't necessarily truthful. And rather than, I don't know, moderate those types of things, our big tech giants up to now have been very like hands off because, you know, and I just want to say, like, I try to give these people sympathy because the issue of like, when you really start to think about it, taking disinformation off of your platform, like moderating that type of content, it is difficult because sometimes like that type of stuff is subjective and it feels really political and it feels like, oh, you can't be censoring some people just for putting their thoughts out there. Like, oh, okay, yeah, that's not what people are really calling for when they say, like, please don't allow straight lies saying that, like, I don't know, ooh, the COVID vaccine is going to give you, like, herpes and autism and you also might die from it. Like, so, you know, putting that sort of fear and false expectations into people's minds, yeah, that's stuff that like I think most people would agree we don't want out there, and the only people fighting to defend that are some of these, and I want to be sensitive here, just like some of these loons who have convinced themselves that's what's happening, and right now they have Mark Zuckerberg, Jack Dorsey, and Sundar Pichai on their side. Like, it's a little bit weird, but again, these are like sensitive issues, and when people like Marky Mark take to the stand and they're like, ooh, but I'm not an arbiter of truth. Okay. I don't necessarily think we want Mark Zuckerberg to be the, like, ruler of what is truth, because when it comes to him, it seems like there is none. And it only takes watching, like, a couple minutes of these big tech testimonies to, like, kind of realize. But yeah, that doesn't mean the rest of us aren't, like, literally desperate for a little bit of honesty in our lives and hope that, you know, the people in power might care about that too. And so that brings me to the issue of gaslighting, because what I've noticed in all of these big tech trials, and so this one on disinformation that happened 2 weeks ago, that was like one of the first of a couple big tech trials that are set to continue this year. And it's like they're addressing a myriad of different issues. We're talking about the disinformation. We're talking about how like the business models seem a little bit weird. And that was something that was talked about in this one a little bit. But yeah, we're sort of like just starting to grapple with the fact that the way these products and spaces have been designed and are run and are managed, like, might just not be the best for us. And in fact, 2/3 of Americans these days say that social media is causing them harms, and only 1/3 of Americans say that they like social media and like, you know, I guess probably like appreciate it. And I don't know, those types of questions of like, do you like social media, do you whatever, Like, those are huge. Those are, like, really, it's tough to just, like, ask a simple poll like that, right? Because, like, there's so much that goes into it. And I always talk about how, like, obviously, if anybody has paid attention to my social media, like, once, they can get the vibe that, like, I'm not into it. Like, I'm irritated by big tech. And it's like, yeah, I'm irritated by it because I feel like the people who are in charge of it, like, don't care about running it properly and don't care about, like, what sort of, like, irreparable harms are being, like, caused by it, and, like, these sorts of effects it's having on how we, like, literally live and interact in the real world. Like, yeah, for the people in power to seemingly not be paying attention to that or just, like, not care, that does bother me. But I'm still, like, just as addicted to these apps as everybody else. Like, I'm still on them, like, all the time because I like using them a lot of the time. A lot of the time I'm on social media, I leave and I realize, like, okay, damn, that made me really sad. I could have been using my time. I could have been just, like, watching a TV show. I could have been watching a movie that, like, I could get something from, or, like, either way, or at least I can say, like, I've seen this movie now. Sometimes you go on social media just to, like, check it for, like, a minute or whatever, and suddenly it's, like, 2 hours later, and you're like, oh, damn. What, like, where did the time go? And it's just like, oh yeah, this is designed to make me spend all my time on here. Oops. Yeah, so that's just kind of strange. But anyway, so this sort of issue of, like, gaslighting really became apparent to me just, like, reading about, like, this last big tech testimony where it's like, okay, now we've reached a point where most people, right, like 2/3 of Americans, a majority of people are saying that they have a problem with big tech and the way that technology and social media and these, like, big powerful platforms are, like, playing this role in our lives, and saying, like, you know, essentially we're kind of saying to Congress and, like, the political people in power, please help, like, please do something for us. Like, we need some sort of leadership and, like, legislation to make these things better. And, you know, you think of who's in Congress right now, and and yeah, a lot of them were alive the first time colored television came out. Like, a lot of them have been alive for a really long time, and have lived through these, like, huge transformations of the world. Like, as we have breached into the digital age, like, these guys have been around for, like, a lot of that and have, like, seen a lot of stuff. And that's valuable. Like, that's, like, cool experience, and, like, I like talking to people of an older generation who can, like, you know, I think about them and I'm like, damn, like, it must be absurd. It simply must be absurd that they went from, like, only being able to, like, talk to their friends in person, or, like, writing them a letter, or, like, sending a telegram or something, to now, like, you can text, FaceTime, communicate with people in an instant. Like, at any time you want, you're always on demand. You're always on call. And so I'm sure, like, if you really think about it, that must be a little, like, I can imagine that's, like, overwhelming, that you go from, you know, always living a life that's, like, personal and really, like, for yourself, and it's like you only engage with other people when you're going out in public, or, like, trying to engage with other people, and to now where it's just like, yeah, anytime you want to see me, anytime you want to talk to me, like, you can say something to me, like, you can always be reaching out. And so these are the people in Congress who have, like, lived through a lot of that, and now they're tasked with regulating the insanity that is the current big tech world. And I mean, like, sometimes I think about that and I'm just like, sheesh, I don't know if they can do it. I don't know if they have, like, I don't want to say, like, the smarts, because it's like these people can be smart, and, like, there are people in office, like, you know, Amy Klobuchar and Rob Wyden and people like that who care about these issues, recognize what a huge shift these sorts of tools like pose to society, and are on top of, like, creating some sort of structure for them. But it seems like the vast majority of other people serving in Congress, like, they just aren't hip. They just, like, even though we seem like we're getting the push to finally, like, people care, and now we, like, want something to be done, I just don't always feel like they are hip enough to fully understand it. And that's why, like, guys, I love this generation. I just, like, can't express it enough how much I love, like, young people, and especially, like, I've talked about how I think, like, the Zennial generation, especially, like, this group of people born in the late 90s who grew up with the development and revolution of big tech. We were the ones, like, navigating these spaces, like, embracing them. Our parents had no idea what was going on. Our teachers had no idea what was going on. It's like, we were the ones who were in charge of this space for a while. And, like, in turn, that, like, resulted in some, like, weird norms, like, some really strange acceptances for, like, certain types of, like, not so great behavior, and just, like, people getting really bold, which is, like, a good and bad thing. But anyway, I digress. So, just, like, getting back to it, it's like these people are in Congress, these people, like, don't have that experience with tech in the way that, like, we do, these, like, more personal experiences, and so they're now, like, okay, we have to do something about this, we have to, like, create laws, like, because that's what it is, and, you know, they bring Marky Mark and Jack and Sundar and are just like, okay, tell us what's going on. Like, why, you know, we know there's a problem here, so, like, let me ask you about it. Like, you know, seems like the stuff being spread on your platforms might have led to this terrorist attack on our capital, huh? And all three of the, okay, Jack, I guess a little bit less, but they were just like, no, it didn't. No, it wasn't. That wasn't me. Like, that, you're crazy. Like, no, that's you. That was the people's fault for falling for that type of thing, for spreading these lies, these terrible, terrible lies. I mean, we kept them. Yeah, like, we don't, like, you know, we think that that's free speech. So we don't want to, like, you know, we don't want to tell those people what to believe. So it's like, we're going to let those lies stay. But, like, no, it's, of course not. No. Like, the fact that, like, people believed that and, like, took to the Capitol, like, sorry, that's not on us. And you can see how, like, one doesn't happen without the other. Like, if you are a more, you know, you're looking from it from the outside, you know, you could also be, I guess you could be looking at Marky Mark, hearing him say that, and just be like, I don't know about that, Chief. Like, because it seems like you were the one who created the space for this content. You created the tools that would help promote that content. You let people pay you to help them promote that content more directly to the people who would be more likely to believe it and be enticed by it. And then you did nothing to try to take it down. You didn't really do anything to put fact checking on there to, like, give people the little heads up that, like, not all of that's true. Maybe we need to think a little bit different about that. No, nothing done by them, but also, no accountability. And that's what's so frustrating about gaslighting. It's the lack of accountability. It's the lack of, like, reflection and, like, self-acceptance. Because, in the words of Kanye, admitting is the first step. But I just want to say, I don't even think admitting is the first step. I think the real first step is acceptance. Like, you have to be willing to accept when you have a problem or you have, like, done somebody wrong. And this whole issue of gaslighting starts at that first step where somebody, like, does not want to accept that. Maybe you can say, like, they do accept it, but they just don't want to, like, say it. They don't want to admit it. Like, okay, sure, maybe, like, that's true too. But it's the fact that, like, they're not willing to accept that, like, they have, you know, done somebody wrong. They're, like, they have a problem or whatever, and, like, own up to it. Like, that's accountability, is just, like, taking responsibility, like, owning up for your stuff, and, like, you know, by doing that, you're kind of taking that step to, like, move forward, and, like, reform that, like, apologize. Maybe something else we're, like, really sorely lacking in the congressional floors. Just, like, none of this type of stuff, none of this good stuff that helps us lead to, like, progress and, like, just, like, reform. So anyway, I kind of, like, posed this whole thought process of, like, gaslighting and ghosting in language and, like, intention to, like, talk about it in this sort of, like, dating realm, because I just feel like these are experiences that people are, like, quite familiar with. And I just want to say, like, and I'm biased because I am a woman, but I feel like gaslighting especially is something that, like, most young women can relate to, like, these experiences of being gaslit. And again, like, so can guys, 100%. And, like, that's something that, like, in thinking about this whole issue, I've had to do, like, my own sort of reflection on, like, yeah, well, girls can be manipulative too, I guess, whatever. It's like, everybody, you know, everybody lies sometimes. It's not always, like, as explicit, and I guess you could say, like, negligent or mean as, like, straight lying to your face. Like, people tell white lies all the time to, like, save people's feelings. And I don't think that's always necessarily wrongful. Like, I think whatever, like, some types of lying is, like, I guess I shouldn't even be going there. I shouldn't be, like, condoning whatever. But I'm just, you guys get it. It's like, sometimes you just, like, the way you express your truth is not, like, explicit. Isn't just, like, straight up. And, like, sometimes I just think that is, okay. But, like, at its core, what is gaslighting? Gaslighting is intentionally withholding the truth, and then confusing it with, like, other distractions. So gaslighting is me coming up to, like, me going to my boyfriend and being like, you're cheating on me. Like, I believe you're cheating on me. And them being like, how could you say this? How could you do this to me? I'm absolutely not cheating on you. I would never cheat on you. Like, you're crazy for believing in that. And I cannot even believe, like, you would say that about me. Like, you're so rude and, like, mean and crazy for thinking that. Like, I would never be doing that to you. And then it's like, oh yeah, it turns out they 100% are, and, like, have continued to and have enjoyed doing it. And, you know, they're lying to you for what? Like, because people don't want to accept, like, their truth because they're embarrassed by it, because they, like, are, I don't know. And this is, like, why it's such a big and weird thing of, like, why do people lie? Why do people, like, not want to tell the truth? Like, there are so many different reasons. It's very situational, but it's just, like, it happens, and, like, I don't know, I just think it's interesting to, like, think about. But anyway, when it comes to this sort of gaslighting, so it's not just the fact that they're not taking accountability, it's putting it on you and saying, like, you're absurd for suggesting that, and, like, you're doing me a wrong by suggesting that. What's going on? I'm hearing some, like, just, I don't know if you guys in the live stream can hear this, but it suddenly, things just started crackling. Anyway, getting back to it. Yeah, so it's just, like, I don't know, and, like, the whole, like, the wrongs of lying are also super, like, just kind of, like, all over the place, because, and, like, what I think is interesting about gaslighting is it's, like, okay, yeah, so it's not taking accountability, it's putting the blame on you, making you feel crazy for, like, even suggesting that truth is a reality. But then it's, like, when the truth comes out, when it's, like, you really walk in on them, like, you know, hooking up with somebody, like, you catch them in the act, the truth, like, is undeniable at this point, then a gaslighter is gonna be like, ooh, well, you shouldn't have believed me. Well, like, that's not my fault that, like, you tried to get the truth out of me. I told you no and that you were crazy, but at the same time, like, you just shouldn't have believed me. You know, and it's just like, oh, okay, so I just, like, should not have trusted you from the start. I should have just, like, known not to, like, I don't know, be with you, or, like, I shouldn't have just, like, bothered engaging in this. Like, I shouldn't have given you the benefit of the doubt. Like, I shouldn't have tried to work this through. Yeah, I don't know. That's weird. It's like, I was giving you trust. Don't you want that? And a gaslighter is like, no, you played yourself. So yeah, that's just weird. That's annoying. Like, that's just, like, the biggest thing that bothers me about gaslighting. It's just, like, it's so annoying. It's so annoying. Because if I'm coming to you and I'm straight up being like, I think this is happening, just, like, for my own sanity, tell me if it is or not. Like, give me some clarity. Even if it's not, like, I'm straight up, like, tell me if you're cheating on me. Even if I'm just asking you a question, like, you know, are you maybe interested in somebody? Like, are you maybe, like, wanting to talk to other people? Like, because, you know, of course, like, those are difficult questions, because maybe, like, your response to it is gonna make me want to, like, take my own action. Like, maybe me saying, like, are you talking to, like, this other girl, and you saying yes is gonna make me want to break up with you. But, like, also not necessarily. It's just, like, I'm looking for a little bit of honesty and, like, a little bit of trust, and, like, your honest response can, like, help that for me. But gaslighters are, like, so selfish in that they're not accepting their own, you know, they're not accepting their truths. They're not, like, admitting to them when you're asking for them. They're turning it around on you. They're, like, making you feel absurd for even thinking that. And then, like I said, it comes back around to, like, yeah, and then once the truth is out there, you were still in the wrong. Like, you were supposed to have known better. And I just, you know, working with a gaslighter is just a lose-lose situation. Like, there's just, like, no way to come out of it, because if, like, they're not going to admit the truth, if they're not gonna, like, give you that honesty, then, like, what is there for you to do? What can you do? And so that was, like, one of my questions that I wanted to ask the audience. I feel like a lot of people have experiences being gaslit, and, like, I coupled ghosting with this because, like, ghosting can feel like a type of gaslight. Like, I think people can feel like being ghosted is like another form of like manipulation, where it's like, what happened? Like, we were having such a great time, we were talking, and like I really liked you, and all of a sudden you just like disappear on me, like you just stop responding to me, like you didn't tell me, like why not? Like, no reason, no excuse, no goodbye or anything. Like, some people just like go ghost. And like when I asked you guys about like those sorts of experiences, more people were saying to me that they felt like ghosting is something that like you just have to accept, and it's just like, it's not that deep. And like I sort of like, I lean on that side. Like, I sort of think like, if somebody's ghosting you, it's because they don't feel like necessarily comfortable, they don't feel like it's super necessary to have a formal conversation on why I'm not talking to you anymore. And I think like how you deal with ghosting, like the way that I've been thinking about it, and like guys, like literally feel free to respond to this either like right now in the live chat, or like if you want to think about this and like hit me up later. Anybody listening, my Instagram is Jade Holly with 3 L's. I love having these sorts of chats. But anyway, like, so I've been thinking about how to, if you're getting ghosted, like how you're supposed to deal with that. I think it's more acceptance. Like, I do think if somebody stops responding to you, you do at a point just like have to accept it. Like, it's their decision that they don't want to talk to you anymore, and like, even though it sucks and like maybe you were having a good time, like you did like them, if they don't want to respond to you and talk to you anymore, like that's their right, and you should like accept that. And then it also sort of takes some reflection, because you can kind of like, if you really, really thought that like you guys had a good thing going, that like, you know, you were having fun talking to them, you thought she was having fun too, and all of a sudden she's just like dipping out on you, you can kind of like take that opportunity to reflect on why maybe that happened. And yeah, again, that's just like sort of a big ask, I guess. And I'm not saying that it's always like the reason you got ghosted is your fault. Like, it's not necessarily. Sometimes, like, you know, stuff happens. People get busy. People, like, you know, get into other relationships, like, are spending more time, like, talking to other types of people. And, like, sometimes it's, like, just not even that deep. It's just, like, oh, I genuinely forgot to respond. Or also, like, I did not realize you thought that this was such a, like, big thing. So, like, yeah, my bad. And if you get to a point where it's, like, I just think reflection really is a necessary thing to do. Because if you do that and, like, you think about it and you're like, she really genuinely seemed into me, like, we were talking, we were, like, making plans and, like, having good convo, like, sometimes having, like, personal convos, like, I was sharing things about myself, and, like, you know, all of a sudden, like, this person, I'm just, like, I'm not hearing from her anymore, like, what, did I do something? Like, I don't know. Try to answer that question yourself first, and then if it's really genuinely still bothering you, if it's something you just, like, can't get off of your mind, like, why did this person just, like, go ghost? Like, why did this happen to me? I can't figure out a reason for, like, why it was me. If you really want to ask, then ask. But, like, give yourself that time to think. Give yourself that time to reflect, and, like, reflection can help, like, maybe answer those questions, or it could also make you realize, like, it's not that deep, you know, stuff happens, people get busy, like, it's okay. So yeah. Now, handling gaslighting is a much more complicated process, I think. And so, I was gonna ask this, like, even before the ghosting thing, but I especially, like, I think it's interesting to ask in terms of gaslighting, although, like, it's probably, like, a little bit complicated, but I just wanted to know, how do people feel about calling somebody out for gaslighting you or ghosting you. Like, should you do it? Like, should you ever bother asking somebody why they ghosted you, like getting a reason for it? But then if you feel like you're being gaslit, how do you actually call that person out? And like have that conversation? Or should you just like, if you feel like you're getting gaslit, should you just like dip? Like just run? So like let me know in the chat if you feel like you have a response to it. Again, I know it's like a little bit of a like broad like thinker of a question, so again, if you want to think on it for a little bit and then like hit me up later, you're so free to do so. But what I wrote down for it, gaslight then ghost, is Bethany's tactic. Asking leads to being gaslit more. Ooh, kind of true, and that's like the tricky part. If they're a gaslighter, they're a gaslighter. Like, there might be no getting around it. But getting gaslit, then ghosting, I'm out. Yeah, you know what? If somebody's gaslighting you, you have every right to ghost them right then and there. Like, that's, like, you know, that is your right here. Okay, but yeah, Mike, you make a good point. If you're being gaslit by somebody, sometimes asking questions is gonna just get you nowhere. It's gonna be like digging you further into the hole, because they're gonna keep trying to like give some absurd response and be like, you know, it's all about like fueling the flame and just being like, you're crazy. I would never be doing that. I just simply would not. I wouldn't. No closure from a gaslighter. It's true. And sometimes, you know what, Bethany, I always remember you saying that you just don't believe in closure, and I think when it comes to a gaslighter, that's it, period. No closure with a gaslighter. They're convinced that they're right. Yeah, no, so true. It's like, but is it even like that they're convinced that they're right? Like, I just genuinely like don't understand why people gaslight, other than like sometimes I feel like I accidentally gaslight people because I'm like trying so hard to like save their feelings. Like, I don't want to tell you that the reason like I don't want to hang out with you is because I think you're like weird or like putting me in a really uncomfortable position, so I'm just gonna keep making excuses. I'm just gonna keep saying like, I'm busy, like, oh, I'm hanging out with these like other people, or like, oh, just like whatever. So like, am I a gaslighter, or like I don't know, maybe I am. Okay, but Sam, like the stuff you're saying, like gaslighters like feel that they're right. If you're somebody who's like at like gaslighter in the traditional sense, where it's like you just are making your side up to like defend yourself, you're just going to be convinced that you're right. And like, if you don't want to like give up your truth, then like fine, there's really nothing that like anybody can do except ghost you, and just like make you feel a little bit of the hurt that you caused other people. Okay, yeah, I think that these are very good points. What I was saying is like, I wrote down you should call it out and then reject them. So I feel like these are sort of the things we were saying. So it's like, you can try to call them out, you can try to like ask for some clarity, but yeah, you're working with a gaslighter here. Like, they're not inclined to be giving that to you. So at the end of the day, you need to reject them. Maybe, I don't know, but then I'm just like, how do you teach them? Like, how do you teach a gaslighter that you can't do that? And I think it's like, maybe you need to like hurt them a little bit, by ghosting them, by just being like, you know what, fine. Oh, okay, and so this actually like goes into something else I was like writing about, which is that I just think like, so I sort of asked in my poll earlier, where's was trying to help someone's feelings helps the other person. Yeah. Okay, so actually this is exactly what I was just about to go into. So like, in thinking, when I asked people how, like, are you willing to endure being ghosted, being gaslit, and some people wrote in and like were saying, some people wrote in saying like they have a zero tolerance policy for it. Like, you gaslight me, like, we're done. And I think that's like so much easier said than done, because again, it's like, if you're somebody like me who tries so hard to give people the benefit of the doubt, you really, like, you ask them questions and like try to get that clarity and honesty, because like you want to believe them, like you want to trust them. And it's unfortunate that those people are like throwing it back into your face and being like, psych, you thought, you're crazy, but you're right. But like, yeah, you're never going to get the closure from them, because if they're not going to admit that like they've done wrong, then they're not going to admit that. And I totally, like, those people who are saying that they have a zero tolerance policy for that, like, I have so much like admiration for them, because saying that you're not willing to tolerate being gaslit is like, that's having standards. And I've just been realizing lately that it's like, yeah, having standards for yourself, like, that's self-love. Being like, I'm not willing to tolerate this type of treatment. I'm not gonna let you like lie to my face. And again, it's like, it's tough because you don't always know that it's a lie. But if somebody's not even willing to like engage in the conversation with you, or like their immediate response is to like get defensive and like push it onto you and make you feel bad for even questioning, like, that's not cool. And like, take it from somebody who literally dealt with that for like so much longer than I absolutely should have. And like, I feel like it's why I have so much like, this has, I don't know, I guess like passion for this type of thing, is because I regret it so much. And just like, when I reflect back on like these relationships I've had where people were just like gaslighting me and making me feel like, either making me feel bad for like questioning them, or just like kind of like, I feel like gaslighting is also sort of like just being led on. Those are things that it's like, it's difficult to like just, you know, convince yourself that you need to remove yourself from that situation. But it's like, that's setting a standard. That's setting a standard for treatment, and like, just like, again, it's self-love. And I just think that everybody deserves to be treated respectfully. Everybody deserves to like be in a relationship with somebody who's honest with them, even when like those like honest truths sometimes suck and sometimes lead to the end of the relationship. That's okay. Relationships come and go. And I even think like the whole dating scene these days, it's just like so unbelievably confusing and stressful, because it's like the expectations for everything of like each stage of a relationship or whatever, it's so unclear. And like, you know, if I'm in a relationship with you, like, you know, is that only when we officially say, like, we officially label it, and like I only get like the level of trust that like I think everybody deserves when we're like in a committed relationship? I'd rather hear the honest truth than be gaslit for a longer period of time. Exactly. Yes, Jackson. I feel like everybody would say that. It's like, if you know, just lay it out for me. I know, like, I'm a big girl. Like, you can tell me if like something has been done, if you've committed a wrong. Like, I'm an adult. First of all, I can hear it, like, you can tell me. But second of all, don't just assume that I'm gonna act irrationally to it, however, like, whatever irrational, like, may mean. But it's like, if you're willing to give me honesty, I'm willing to give you, like, an ear to listen. Like, I will listen to you. I genuinely will try to, like, understand your side, and maybe, you know, understand why you did things or said things or whatever. Sometimes you do sometimes you do stuff that's unfair. If if you cheat on somebody because I don't know, like, I feel like cheating is bad, but it's like, did you make a mistake? Did you, like, just get too drunk and, like, I don't know, there was a baddie at the bar and she was all up on you all night and then she just, like, went for the kiss and you were so, like, off your senses that you kissed her back? Like, okay, yeah, that sucks. Like, I don't want you to kiss somebody, but sheesh, like, if you weren't in the right state or whatever, like, okay, I can, like, accept and move on from that, definitely. And it's like, okay, like, if you cheated on me because there was some baddie in your class who it's just, like, became your study partner and you guys have started getting close and, like, you were hiding that from me and now, like, you know, you have feelings and, like, you went for it while we were still in the relationship, then, like, that's different. I still would like to know, and I think that's where some people differ on that. Like, if it gets to that point, I think, you know, you don't want somebody to stay in the relationship without telling you because that's just, like, betrayal. Maybe? Yes? But also some people might just be like, you know, if that happens, if, like, somebody, you know, you start to fall for somebody else, just, like, end it with me. Just, like, it's okay. Like, just tell me, you know, we had a good relationship, but, like, things are a little bit different now, and, like, I think it might be time for us to, like, split. That's okay. Again, relationships, they come, they go. But yeah, I just feel like we gaslight each other more often than, like, we even intend to, because we're not comfortable having these sorts of, like, open conversations about, like, what are the expectations here? Like, okay, even though, like, I'm not your girlfriend, like, we're not in this serious relationship, okay, like, you know, I can understand if you don't want me to, like, also be hooking up with other people. Like, you might like to know that. And those are, like, tougher questions to navigate because I feel like, and this is something I was talking about earlier, where I feel like right now, young people especially have this mindset when it comes to dating that, like, everything needs to be casual. Everything is about casual sex, casual dating. Like, we're so nervous about getting into real relationships because we feel like once you're in a relationship, like, oh, there are so many pressures, there are so many rules that you have to abide by, and if you don't abide by them, then it's like you're a bad person. And, like, I definitely, like, relate to that a lot. But, like, I've kind of just been reflecting back on that and, like, thinking to myself, like, why am I, like, just, like, period anxious about, like, getting into serious relationships? And I think it's, like, I was talking with one of my friends about it earlier, like, I guess last week, and he made me just, like, realize that it's, like, yeah, some of us are just, like, not comfortable, or it's just, like, it's being vulnerable is, like, genuinely scary. Like, that's just what it is. Being vulnerable is, like, a scary thing to do, and to, like, be honest with somebody else, and, like, be wanting honesty back from them, knowing that, like, your truths might not, like, line up, and therefore, like, things might not work out. Yeah, it's, like, scary to have those conversations, and, like, people, like, feel a little bit weird about their emotions and, like, putting themselves out there like that. Again, it's just, like, ooh, vulnerability, eek. But then it's, like, you realize that once you actually have those conversations and are, like, open and honest with other people and, like, engage in those conversations, especially with, like, your significant other, it relieves so much stress. It relieves so much stress to just be like, hey, this has been on my mind. Like, I feel this type of way. You know, you may or may not feel the same. Like, LMK, like, let's just talk about it. And it's like having those conversations are going to, I don't know how to speak right now. That's what's gonna, like, give you a healthy relationship. Like, having these conversations, like having open, honest conversations with your partner, like, yeah, you'll learn about each other, you'll learn about what you want, you'll learn about, like, what each of you are just, like, looking for, and, like, again, sometimes it means you guys are gonna break up or, like, stop hanging out because one person is, like, looking for something more serious or just, like, different or whatever from the other person. That is okay. That is a-okay, baby. But yeah, vulnerability in humans should be grooving. Yes, Sam, they 100% should. Like, we just need to, like, get that. We need to, like, just get back in touch with, like, our emotional side and be like, I'm tired of bottling it up. And I think that it's, like, social media literally, like, created these spaces where people could, like, put their thoughts out there, and it's, like, people can be emotional. And unfortunately, like, the way that these spaces are designed right now is it's like they encourage you to, like, lean into, like, the more negative emotions of, like, I'm angry, I'm really upset, like, I have something to say about something that I don't like, and that's what I'm gonna put out there. Like, okay, all right, like, thanks for sharing, but maybe next time, like, write that down in a journal and think about it before you post it online for the world to see. Because guess what, babes? Like, 10 years from now, you're gonna get canceled, okay? Putting so much negativity out into the world is, like, not good for you, for other people. Like, maybe just think twice before, like, just putting that type of stuff out into the world. But it's like, we should also, social media also gives us, like, this opportunity to just, like, see so much more stuff that we're, like, interested in and, like, excited about and, like, made happy from. Again, it's like we were talking about at the beginning of this, 2/3 of Americans say that social media is a problem. They are not happy with the way things are being done right now. And they want a change. Like, we're desperate for it. We're desperate for this sort of, like, unity. And beyond that, it's just, like, honesty. Like, these things are just, like, please be honest with us. Like, please, like, we want truth. Like, this is what we want back in our information systems. And, like, we don't want social media to be all about, like, exploiting our insecurities, like, learning about the fact that, like, I don't know, I'm insecure about my weight or my style or, like, the color of my skin, and so, like, I look at people who look different from me, and now all of a sudden, like, I look at people who I'm jealous of, and now all of a sudden my feed is full of those people, and I cannot stop thinking about how I'm different from other people and how those people are better than me because look at all of the attention they get. Like, look how much people love them. And when I read their comments, like, all they get is love. And when I post a picture, like, people don't say anything, or, like, when I see people who look like me or, like, doing things that, like, I'm doing or whatever, like, I see people are posting these unnecessarily, like, bizarrely mean comments, and it's just like, why are you even bothering to say stuff? If you don't like something, then, like, stop engaging with it. Like, you have that option to, like, if you don't like what I'm posting, unfollow me. If you really don't like what I'm posting, block me. You have that option, okay? You don't need to tell me you don't like me. Okay, but if you do like me, like, I want to know, like, hit my DMs, like, I want to talk, it's like, these spaces we're supposed to build community and build better relationships because we do have more connection with each other, we do have more opportunity to be, like, talking with one another, and, like, beyond just, like, talking, it's like, you can connect over things that, like, other people are into. It's like everybody has, like, their little niche interests and everything, and if you were just, like, living your personal life in the real world, like, without technology or whatever, it's like, you can have those interests, but, like, you might feel really weird about having those interests because you think that nobody else is into them. The internet is like, everybody's into this. Like, there is a community for you. Like, there's so much love, and, like, you can find groups of people who are like just like you, who like the same things, who want to, like, hear from you, who want to talk to you about, like, what you like. Yeah, and so I feel like when we're thinking about what we need to do to change tech, we just have to like remember what these spaces were ideally intended for. And unfortunately, the people in power who are currently controlling them and like making the decisions for what type of content is allowed to stay and what types of content we're going to bombard other people with, and like how we're going to construct, like, it's on the technical side, it's like, how do we construct algorithms to learn what people like and then feed them content to like make them happy? Because again, social media is making people unhappy because people have made wrong decisions, because they're not thinking properly about really what really does make people happy. I don't have the answer for that yet, but like, I love to think about it. I love talking about it. If anybody ever like has thoughts on just like any of these sorts of things, like, I don't know, like, let's talk about it, because I think as we sort of like progress with these just like new inventions and stuff that are revolutionizing everything about the world, it's gonna take everybody like coming together and forming some sort of unity over, like, first of all, we need respect. Like, you need to just accept that like not everybody's gonna like you. You're not gonna like everybody or everything you see, but like that doesn't mean you necessarily have to like dislike it. It doesn't mean you have to put your hate out into the world. Like, you can also keep it to yourself, or again, like, write it down in a journal. Okay, like, get yourself a journal, like, talk about it to yourself first, and then really like think about it before you want to like just, you know, put it out into the world for the rest of like everybody to see. But anyway, a lot of those sorts of things of like, what do I like? What do I dislike? These are your truths, babe. Like, that's dope. Like, go on to this, like, you can dive into these sorts of like, why do I like the things that I like? Why do I not like the things that I don't like? Sometimes doing that, like, I've been doing a lot of this sort of reflection of like, what are the things that I don't like and why didn't I like them? And sometimes like putting thought into those things makes you realize that it's like a lot of the reason why you on your first opinion, like, don't like something is because genuinely, I know this might sound corny, but it can genuinely be because, like, there's something at its core that you do like, that, like, you admire, and sometimes it's, like, it's just jealousy. Jealousy got the best of you and made you think that you didn't like something that you actually do. And I just want to say that it's, like, that's women, period. Like, there's so much judgment and, like, hostility woman between women, and I think that that's so much of that is just because we're so conditioned to like judge one another and like I look at girls and I'm just like, wow, I wish I looked like you, like, you're so beautiful. And like, so when I see girls who are like driven and outspoken, it makes me like, I'm like, sheesh, I kind of wish I was like that. And like, I don't know, sometimes in, you know, mentally that makes you like shift your opinion and you're like, okay, I actually don't like that, you know, like, you're too loud, you're putting yourself out there because you're trying to get attention from other people. And that type of line of thinking, that's gaslighting because and I'm gonna sound like I'm so ranting right now, but it's like, that's the media. Like, thank you, media, for like putting these like women on a pedestal and then tearing them down for it and making other girls, like little girls and just like women all over the world, like, you look to them and it's like all of the chatter around them is like, wow, like, they're a slut because they put like their hot titties on a magazine cover, or like they're such a try-hard, they're only hosting these events, they're only doing good work because they're in it for the recognition, because women apparently are so like attention driven and like all we care about is like what other people have to say about us. Bruh, you want a piece of me, as Britney Spears said, like, you're just trying to follow me, like, you don't have to talk about me. Like, if you want to admire me, like, let me know. That's the only type of commentary I want. And if you have a problem with me, if you're concerned, like if you have a criticism or something that you think is like serious, then like talk to me too. Like, I don't think I am perfect. I'm never going to think that. Like, I'm always willing to have conversations, and it's like valuable to talk to people who like think differently from you and don't necessarily like love you inherently and are obsessed with you. It's like you need people in your life who are going to question you and are going to like critique you, and like that's how you grow. That is like how you improve. Okay, so with that, everybody, if you get gaslit, feel free to go ghost. Oh my gosh, like, I don't know if you, there's so much crackling. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of Tech Talk. This is a really great conversation. All of the babes in the live chat, I love you so much for doing this with me. I hope you guys all have a great rest of your week. I'll be here same time next week. I'll be back on the air on Thursday. Anyway, guys, get out there, be honest with yourself, and like get connecting. I'll see you all next week. Bye.